I'm talking to Chris White today from the Dire Straits Experience. How are you today, Chris?
Oh, I'm good, thanks, Sylvia. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, on a lovely sunny day. I just want to briefly span back over your musical journey, because you was only 13 when you decided saxophone was your thing. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, at school. I say at school. I saw somebody playing saxophone on TV one night, watching TV with my dad. I'm not sure who it was, but it might have been John Dankworth. I don't know if you know that name. I was actually playing violin at the time, but not very well, and I didn't like it very much. I just went to school the next day and said, I'd really like to play saxophone. And the music teacher, head of music, he said, I think we've got one. Took me off to a cupboard at the back of the rehearsal room where there was a saxophone in a sack. Didn't have a case.
Oh.
He just said, I'll take that home, see what you can do with that. That's the start of it. That was the start and the end of it, really. That was it. I knew I was going to be playing saxophone from pretty much then on, really.
Is it so? Was it the instrument, or was it actually the music that you produced, or what was it that attracted you to the saxophone?
It was. Oh, that's a good question. It was the sort of the sound.
Yeah.
And when I started playing it, it just all felt. I couldn't play it straight away, but it all felt right somehow. It felt like the right thing to be doing. Sounds a bit mystical and a bit strange, but no. I just within about a month of playing, I knew that's what I was going to be doing. I knew that's what I wanted to do, was play the saxophone. And it just kind of progressed from there. It was the sound, it was the look of it, it was the way you played it. I don't know. All of those things.
It is. I can understand that. Yeah, because when you're listening to a track, listening to a song, if there's saxophone in there, to me, it gives the song more feeling and more depth.
A lot of people say that it's quite a different voice to, particularly in rock and pop, where it's everything's pretty much electric and amplified. Of course, you amplify the saxophone, but it's so different to all the other sound, all the kind of all the guitar type sounds. And I think that was certainly when eventually I got working with Mark. Well, and other people along the way, actually, it was clear that they would just wanted something else to go in there to make a bit of a difference on some of their tracks, and saxophone fitted the bill, really. But you can also be pretty, you can be pretty aggressive and lively with a saxophone, just like you can with a guitar. So I think it works really well. Thankfully for me, because it's been all my career, it works really well in kind of rock and pop.
It's because you've worked with many bands and artists over the years, like Robbie Williams, Paul McCartney, Mick Jagger, Chris de Burgh.
Yeah.
Do you have any fond memories?
I have. I loved working with all of them. I was very lucky. I grew up in Bristol and quickly realised that if I was going to be a musician, I had to go to London. So when I was 18, I went to London to be a musician. Quite quickly. Well, the first kind of thing that happened was I managed to get into the thing called the National Youth Jazz Orchestra, which I had a call from them one day saying, we need somebody quickly, can you come along? So I did, and then did more with them, and that kind of started the whole thing. And then quite quickly after that, I was doing little pop sessions with new up-and-coming artists around London. First big break was a guy called Nick Hayward. Who had been singer with Haircut 100.
Yeah.
And I got a call to do a solo album. He was going out on his own, so I did that with him, which was great fun, actually. And it kind of just rolled on from there. Paul McCartney came very quickly after that. I did a film with Paul McCartney and then a couple of albums after that. It was just brilliant. And it's kind of just took on a life of its own, really. It just kept rolling and different people calling up, which is what happens as you do things. People hear your name or hear what you've done, and it just kind of grew from there.
It proves one thing, though, doesn't it, Chris? It proves you're doing it right.
Well, I guess so. You never know quite. You turn up on these sessions and somebody plays your song and they say, we've got this hole here where there's nothing. Can you play something in there? So you just have to, which is what most of my career has been, and you just kind of play what feels right, and then they say thank you very much and pay you. I guess it is doing it right, really.
It all fits well, doesn't it? It's like Claire Torrey, isn't it, with A Great Gig in the Sky? We got this music, can you put the vocals to it? It's you've got to be doing it right.
Yeah.
So, but how did you manage? Yeah. How did you come along, Mark Knopfler, then, and Dire Straits? How did that come about?
That came about. That was after I'd been working with Paul McCartney and on a film. And a little while after, I got a call one day from somebody I didn't know, just saying, "Look, we've heard about your name. Mark Knopfler is doing a film soundtrack." Oh no, I didn't get the call actually. Somebody else took the call from me. I got, and there was a note stuck to the phone. It just said Mark Knopfler Air Studios, Wednesday. I think it was 10 a.m. And then a phone number. So then I called and they said, "Look, it's just one little bit, very little. We normally use a guy called Mel Collins who's been working with Dire Straits, but he's away. He's off with Roger Waters. Can you come and do this? It's just one little bit of saxophone. It won't take you an hour or anything like that." So I went along to Air Studios and met Mark, who had just come back from America, where he'd been filming Local Hero, recording the soundtrack for Local Hero. I got there early, started playing, warming up as I normally do. Mark came in and said, "Oh, you sound just like the guy I've been working with, Michael Brecker, I've been working with in America." So I said, "Oh, that's fantastic. That's high praise. He's a big hero of mine." So we started. We played this one track, and we got that done, which was great. And then Mark said, "Actually, could you try a bit on this one for me as well?" So we did another one, and then it took 3 days later, having played on just about all the film, I left the studio. So that's how I met Mark. And at the end of that, he said, "You have to come and play with the band." But that took another couple of years. But I did lots of things with Mark in the meantime. But that's how I met him.
So from little acorns, it turned out into a big tree.
It did.
It did.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm still playing his songs now.
It is, because you play on his solo albums as well, don't you?
Yes, I played on a couple of his solo albums. I did lots of other bands. He was producing, back in the early days, he was producing other bands, like a band called Aztec Camera, played on an album called The Knife, which Mark produced. There's loads of stuff. It was a fantastic time. There was lots of stuff going on, and lots of bands recording around the studios in London at that time.
So if we come up to date then, Chris, you're going to be at Harpington Public Halls this Saturday. What have you been doing up to date?
Oh, with the Dire Straits experience. We've had it's been going a little while now. We've had a very busy year this year. We've done lots of shows in the UK at the start of the year. We were, ironically, considering the news today, we were in Turkey on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday of last week for a big festival in a city called Bursa, which was a really lovely open air thing. We were the only band on. It's a city festival.
Yeah.
We had 3,200 people out. That was sold out, so that was great. But it's been a really good time in the UK and all over Europe as well. And as you say, Harpington Public Halls on Saturday.
Yeah.
And then later in the year, we're off to, of course, Australia and New Zealand for a couple of weeks, back into Europe, and also Israel at one point as well. So that's what we're doing, and it's great. It's really busy, and it's great that people still want to come and hear those songs.
It is, because you've done, over 150 shows in 25 countries. That's busy, and that's just in the past, 3 years? It
is, actually. But yes, it is busy, and this whole thing started out 5 years ago, different group of musicians, and it started out, we were asked to put a band together to play Dire Straits tunes for a charity gig at the Albert Hall, for a charity called the Lord's Taverners.
Yeah.
And so we put a band together for that. Mark wasn't up for doing that, but so we put a band together, found a singer, and really just thought it was just going to be that, just one show. But that went amazingly well, and very quickly after that, people were saying, "Well, do you fancy coming out and playing in a few other places?" And here we are now, with a slightly different band, but here we are still rolling on, and it seems to be growing. We just had a meeting this morning talking about things for 2017, which is pretty amazing, really.
Gosh, is it still Terence fronting the band then?
It is still Terence. Yeah, it is Terence, and he's absolutely brilliant. When we were asked to put the band together for that charity show years ago, I didn't think it could be done, really, because I didn't think we'd ever find anybody who could even come close to what Mark used to do. It's such a distinctive voice and style of guitar playing.
Yeah.
And just purely by chance. Terence covers it all and does brilliantly. And he doesn't try to copy Mark. He does he just is Terence, and I think that's one of the great things for me is it keeps it alive.
Absolutely.
We're not trying to kind of play every note that was played on the Brothers in Arms tour or anything like that.
He's just got his own style and his own personality comes across, isn't it?
That's what people say.
Yeah.
On, Facebook and stuff like that. The feedback we get is that there were two things. One, people say you close your eyes and it just sounds like Dire Straits. But then people also say, but I know I can hear that Terence is playing different things and they're playing different guitar things, and it just keeps it alive. It keeps it alive and growing, really.
But that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is at this point. And, fortunately, people want to come and hear it, really.
Thank you for speaking to me today. You sound extremely busy, and look forward to seeing you on Saturday at the Harborne Public Halls.
That's great, Sylvia. Thanks very much. I really appreciate that you took the time to talk to us as well. Thank you.
Oh, no problem.
See you there.